Yeah.
It's great to be in Morden, Manitoba, and I've got great guests on the farm show this time around. And if we could just look down to the golf course, the scenery is absolutely great. I'm not a golfer, but I know that it is. And today I have company representatives with me and a couple of farmers that I've known for years. I love agriculture. I love agriculture because it's basically serving the basic industry that feeds the world. And that's my mission always, as a farm broadcaster, as a farm journalist, and as a farmer's advocate. And I love doing it because I grew up on a farm with my father. He farmed 1,000 acres in 1960. That was a huge farm, and it was a seed farm. But today we want to talk about something else, and I'm going to go start with Mike Witkowitz. And Mike, tell me about the company and what you do and what the company does, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. So the company started out of Saskatoon in 2013. The idea came out of the change with the Canadian Wheat Board, and that there was opportunities that were going to come for more grain traders coming into Canada, and they were going to be in unique ways. However, with the change with the Canadian Wheat Board, we lost some supply information, the supply chain information. So the whole idea that to give right from the start was the board went away, and it was a co-worker at Cargill at the time. This is where we were working. And the merchants in downtown Winnipeg had a chance to sell some grain to Japan. They would pick up the phone and they would call these guys that were in a role called a product line lead and say, hey, we can put a 60,000 ton Panamax into Vancouver. They want 3 holds, 20,000 ton of these specs each. And can you find this grain? Well, then you'd see the phones would light up, the texts would light up, the emails would light up. Everybody'd be scattering around trying to figure out if we can source the grain. And they'd plan to, say, drop cars into Kindersley and Clavet and a couple places in Alberta. Anyway, they would get the information back. So then the merchant would decide, okay, I got enough, I can do the deal. He'd go back to Japan, do the deal. Then they would come back and say, okay, now go get the grain. Well, now they had a price. So the first question always was, and as growers, you guys probably get this all the time. Guys call them, do you have this? And sometimes they might ask you at what price, or sometimes they thanks and hang up. Anyway, so this process would honestly take 8 to 10 days to fill. And our founder, Lyle Ermintrout at the time, it was one of those things of there has to be a better way. So he plowed down the path, wrote a business plan. It's just almost like a story that you'd see on a Dragon's Den or a Shark Tank, that kind of stuff, where went to the Saskatchewan Angel Investment Network with us, and that is like a Dragon's Den kind of thing. There's investors in Saskatchewan. And he did his pre-pitch. And the guy he did the pre-pitch to said, you know what, we don't even have to take it in the room. Let's go build this. That was David Khalil, our Chief Technology Officer. So I like highlighting this is a made in the prairies solution. So it's founded out, it's U of S computer science people. That's the technology team behind it. And that's important because a lot of them are rural Western Canadian kids. And we've all experienced rural internet. So our service, when it comes to today, it's not full of fancy graphics and full of fancy stuff. It's actually built for speed in rural internet areas. And so the premise of the business then, it started as an inventory management system. So you would keep track, and it picks up where Precision Ag leaves off. So Precision Ag helps you grow that crop. Mm-hmm. Well, this picks up the traceability from the field to the bin to the sale. So this was the first product they built, was an inventory management that allowed trading. And Gilbert, I think probably around in those early days, there was probably some of our team come out and they're trying to talk to you about going to an inventory management system. And oh, by the way, you get trading. And so as they learned, this was a big step to move people from pen and paper, people keeping track of inventory in their minds, Excel or other methods, that in about 2016 we broke it up. And so we've got a trading module, which is getting bids from buyers on your smartphone, via text, via email, or you can log into the service, and you get the details right then and there. Now, if you accept on it, it's a binding agreement, but at least it gives you pricing information. So that's the first level of membership we have. The second is where you can do targets. One of the limitations in today's grain trade that I'll say was a bugaboo that you could always pick up from our customers in my Cargill career was that if someone wanted to do a target price with you, they were kind of locked into you. Because if you issued a target price for $11 canola, you needed to have that canola to back it up in case it got picked up. Our system allows you to hit targets to multiple buyers, and as long as it's in the system draws it down. So when it's picked up, you're no risk over contracting. So there's a big benefit that way, we feel. And then the last is the inventory module. So there's 3 levels of membership, and why we say membership is because we're not like a broker. We actually, and I always joke, and I've been at different meetings, I joke, we are the dating site for grain. We're the match.com for grain because it's a membership fee. So whether you trade 0 tons or 1,000 tons as a grower, or a buyer trades 1,000 tons or 100,000 tons, it's a membership fee. And what that brings is then you know who you're dealing with. No mysteries. Grain's relationship. You need to know who you're dealing with. You have to have a level of trust. You need to know if you have questions, all of this as it builds in, because it's more than the price. It's the logistics, it's the unload, it's the grading. All of that fits in. And so that's what we're trying to accommodate in this transparent environment. So get more bids to growers more efficiently, getting access to more buyers. Because that would be the other thing to add to it is, as we add in more buyers, our buyers today in our service, they're not the typical line company buyers. You have relationships with them, but there's all these companies, global companies. Schooler, one of the world's largest feed grains companies, well, they're not going out and hiring hundreds of sales reps to drive up and down the driveways. They need to get to people. Grain Corp, Australia's largest buyer. We've got all these different companies that have looked at our service and said, hey, what a great way to reach more customers. Well, on the flip side, the benefit is, as a grower, you get more offers for your grain. More offers to us, if I'm a consumer, is a good thing. So,
great. Mike, one of the things, aside from the company and all those benefits, in 1980, I also felt that there was a better way. That's when I started working towards getting rid of the Canadian Wheat Board, together with the former Pellets for Wheat Growers and now the Western Canadian Wheat Growers Association. And, I have a few scars on that one, but I never thought to see the day. But that's not why we're here to talk. I'm going to switch over to Sarah Fable. Tell me what you do with the company and take it from there.
So my role with CXN 360 is I'm a regional account rep. So I get to work with both our buyers and our growers on bringing them on the platform and showing them the benefits. So I work with growers such as Gilbert and Gunther to show them just what's available to help them with their grain marketing. So in past lives, I was a grain rep. I worked on buying grain. And when Mike showed me this system, the first thing that I noticed was the ask system, that giving that control back to a grower, not tying in with one company when you have a price in mind for the grain you have on your farm. I thought that was a great feature of this system, and I really want to advocate that to our growers and show them how great it can be as part of their marketing plan. So it's an exciting platform, and really love working with these guys and just showing them what we can do.
I'm sitting here facing two of my farmer friends that I've interviewed several times in the past. The first one we'll go to is Gunther Yocum. And Gunther, I know what kind of farm you have because I've talked to you often enough on Twitter, but tell me how you fit into this puzzle.
Yeah, so we're a grain and oilseed farm up at St. Francis Xavier, just west of Winnipeg. And right now our main crops that we grow is wheat, oats, canola, and soybeans. And CXN approached me a couple of years ago, I think, and said, would I subscribe? And it's not much of a subscription, it's just saying, would you like to try this out? And I said, well, sure. There's no cost involved. And so I've been with them since. And I like the feature that I just get notifications. They're very easy to read. It it's like you said, it's a spreadsheet format, easy to see, easy to navigate through, and you either accept or decline a bid, and away you go.
Boy, Gilbert, tell me, it sounded like you were almost in at the ground floor, and I think, knowing your dad, and you've been on many ground floors, especially when it comes to the big farm show that starts the year off at St. Jean.
Yeah.
And tell me how you fit into this.
Well, I guess I was at a grower meeting at a seed plant, and that's where I first got introduced to Ag Exchange back then. And the sales rep at the time came to do a personal visit afterwards, and then I said, sure, I'll try it. It's another tool in the toolbox for selling grain. There's zero risk
Right.
to see it. So
So how has it worked for you?
I have used it. You know, I grow wheat, oats, canola, soybeans, sunflowers, and corn. And on the corn side especially, I was just used to selling more to the local guys. And then through Ag Exchange, I got exposed to corn buyers not that far from the area, but some I didn't really know existed. So I made quite a few corn sales to maybe it's a 30-minute, 45-minute drive away, but that worked out quite well.
When the wheat board first was gone and farmers were starting to use it, I remember one farmer telling me from Oak Bank, he says it doesn't matter now whether you haul 100 miles or 20 miles, because at the end of the day, you know what you're getting at the end of those 100 miles, and if it means going 100 miles, you'll go 100 miles, right? So tell me your experience with it.
So I haven't made a sale through it yet, but what I like is it gives me a real sense of what the market where the market is at, and it's quite amazing because the bids that come through are very aggressive at times, and you're kind of going, holy, okay, I wonder if my local elevator can match that. And so that's what I really like about the system. But especially if this year there could be problems with quality and whatnot. So I think if you have unpriced grain, if we haven't forward sold anything, let's say you have some light oats, you know what it's at. You just throw it on their service, and I'm sure you'll get people picking it up. And so you don't have to fight anymore with an elevator that says, sure, bring it on in, we'll take it, and you take it there and they go, well, it's light, or if you specify right up front, well, this is where it's at. The oats only weighs 35 pounds a bushel. This is the amount I have. Is anybody interested? And you'll get people picking it up.
What's the best way that a farmer can use it, Mike?
Best way would be you've got your regular grain buyers.
Right.
This is, and so the best way to use it is for exact situations as you describe. Just now, you've got some different spec product, but also if you've got some good quality product, you can find some great opportunities. We found that out of Alberta last fall. So we had a big run up in Alberta, and quality was all over the map on proteins. And we started seeing through our system communication being made. Typically grain will move 60 miles. That's kind of been always the 60 mile. We were seeing movement as far as 120 miles and connections made that way because of the quality, and people then are getting, I'll say, paid for the quality they've produced. Upside and downside, but also there are various feed buyers on that are always looking at, I learned a lot in the last 2 years. Some of these feed guys were pulling hundreds of miles when they were looking for lower quality. Now we're able to source it closer. So there's a win-win for the buyer and the grower.
So how do we put transportation into this whole thing? I mean, we still have a transportation system that's got to get it from point A to point B.
Yes. So transportation. from the grower side and from the buyer side. Within the system and the mechanics itself, they bid it fob farm or delivered terminal. That's kind of how the offers are made back and forth. Now, I'm not going to wade too deep into that whole rail system thing.
No.
But with the rail system, you also have opportunities with a lot of our buyers that aren't on the traditional rail system that are going to have to fight with avalanches and cold weather in Jan, Feb, and March. So there's opportunities to diversify your sales plan. And that's what I've been more on the bandwagon of lately is it's great, do your contracts. But if you're looking for movement, and we know that historically, Jan through March, the rail system backs up. It's Canada. We got to go through mountains. It's like, aside from anything else that we'll get into debates, but there's avalanches and cold weather. So why not diversify your sales plan to have some local or truck or whatever opportunities?
I'm looking at two farmers here that probably have about as good a grain handling system nearby as anybody in the world. I think, 5, 6, 7 elevators right within the 50, 60 miles, right? So is that as good a positive as it looks like from the outside?
Yes, it is. I mean, we're kind of spoiled here. Whenever I hear there's issues across the prairies on grain movement, we're kind of spoiled here because we have a lot of different outlets. At the same time, that it still can be problematic, right? And then to have their system where now all of a sudden you get into these specialty markets or these players that aren't part of the big picture, it's really easy to utilize and to tap into those players. Because quite often you maybe only want to move a loader or two. You know, you don't want to move 500 tons. You know, you have now at this time of year, you want to clean out a bin and there's maybe only 40 tons left. And the elevators are sometimes reluctant or the bids are really lousy. You throw it on their system and you might score 40, 50, 70 cents a bushel.
Are you still loyal to that elevator manager? I know in Plum Coulee, where my dad farmed and I grew up, we had UGG and we had Manitoba Pool, and my dad would belong to the board where he liked the manager the most, right? that's kind of how he worked. Is that still part of the mix?
I still like to support the local businesses. Our friends work there, whatever. But once the truck is loaded, I don't mind driving 10 minutes away or an hour away to get the better price.
As long as you're not tweeting while you're driving,
that's correct.
Yeah.
Usually lineups are long enough, you have time in lineup.
Yeah, exactly. Eh? Sarah, tell me, I've embraced technology from just about day one, and that's why I'm still in the business today. So do farmers have to embrace technology, or have you made it so simple that it's a plug and shoot?
You know what? The system is very simple to use. We've made it so it's very easy to read. It works where they are. And from my experience working with growers, they have a great embrace for technology. They love their smartphones. And they're busy guys, right? Being able to just get a text, be grounded with the market, that's something they're very interested in. Maybe it gets them away from having to have some of those, phoning every elevator to get those bids that are out there. It helps move along their day and make those marketing decisions. But from a platform standpoint, you fill in the boxes and you move on. It's a very simple system to use.
That's good, and I didn't mean to belittle farmers being not good at technology, because I know they're the best, but at the same time it's always good in today's society because there's so many apps thrown at you from every direction that if yours is the user-friendly one, that's the one I'm going to take, that's for sure. We're coming to the end of this. Let's wrap it up and see if we can start with a concluding comment. Gilbert, what would you suggest?
Okay, I know with their program, you can use many different levels. You don't need to put your inventory on it if you don't want. You're going to receive texts and emails showing bids out there as well. So, if you don't feel comfortable putting your bushels in, you can still use the program, and it's another tool in the toolbox for pricing as well.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Gilbert, and I especially like but you don't need to download a special app or anything. It's a simple text message that you get that alerts you, and then if you want to get in deeper into the system, you just go to your computer at home and fill in the boxes. But you can even reply just with another text, whether you accept or decline. So it's really it can't get much simpler.
And you can just call the buyer himself.
Right.
That's good. I'll get you to wrap your part up, and then I'll let Mike to have the last word.
Well, and to kind of echo what Gilbert said there, the transparency aspect of this system. You know who you're dealing with up front. It's not a surprise once you've sold your grain. You know who you're dealing with. Maybe your spec isn't quite on. We provide their contact information. Have those conversations, make those connections. But at the end of the day, it's just a great way to connect with more buyers out there for your grain.
You got the last word, Mike.
Last word. I just want to thank you guys jumping on, taking a risk to come in with a startup and support a startup like us, and to Gilbert, getting us in on the St. Jean Farm Show to get us exposed to more people. Those are things that we as entrepreneurs, appreciate in supporting the growers who are feeding the world. I don't mean that in a philosophical sense. Like, we really appreciate that.
And I had to squeeze you in a spot that didn't really exist.
Yep, exactly. And to be given that, we appreciate that. And we've tried to make it exactly as you say. We got the best tech team. I believe in the world that when we bring them an idea, when you mentioned about being able to call, they've now coded that when you open up the bid and the buyer's phone number is there, you press that and your smartphone recognizes that that's a phone number. Like, we're just trying to make it that simple for you. So, you know what? We want the world on. And the final words, if you haven't tried it like these guys, there's no secret to it. And everybody's welcome, and the more that are there, the better it is.
Great. Just an absolute wonderful time to sit here and visit. You know what? This is what makes, for me, the job really worthwhile, because to meet people like yourself and to be able to tell a story. Like, I didn't know the story. Now I know the story. And not only will we not put it on social media, I'll get a chance to write up a few articles on it, and it's great to be able to have the medium. As I said to you guys before we started the program, I have 23,000 followers on 4 different platforms, and what does a 71-year-old fella do with 23,000 followers? Well, I engage, and that's what you guys are doing too. I engage, and I'm not afraid, and neither are the fellas and the gal that we have here today. So once again, Mike Witkowicz and Gilbert Sabarin and Gunther Yocum and Sarah Fable, thanks for joining me on the Farm Show and SeamanSays.com. This is Harry Seaman saying, see you again.